At Chris Kehler Holistic, we demonstrate real healing and real caring to your health issues and needs. Our solution for you is an alternative to the alternative. Our out-of-the-box treatment methods are aimed to your specific well-being and are quite different than most. Venturing down the realm of quantum energy healing, Chris uses unique modalities of healing, such as spiritual intervention with pendulum dowsing, sacred geometry tools such as the neutralization, divinity, and sun ring. Another tool Chris uses is a 5-tiered pyramid affectionately known as the Silver Light Pyramid to activate quantum activity within the body. Also, Chris Kehler Holistic uses radionic technologies in various platforms with specific liquid mineral ionics to balance out excesses and deficiencies within the body. At Chris Kehler Holistic, our goal is to get tangible and measurable results in the least amount of time possible so you can carry on with what's important in your life. Another advantage to this unique energy healing is that it can be done at a distance healing session. So location is not a barrier and can be done conveniently at your home, office, just about anywhere through Skype or telephone conferencing. Eliminate costly protocols, expensive monthly supplements, high-priced allopathic operations, invasive surgeries, and dubious medication applications that keep you trapped in a financial and health rat race. Get a specific, customized, out-of-the-box solution tailored for your health recovery. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we are warm welcoming and want to put you at ease with your visit to us. Please visit www.chriskehler.net for further information as we welcome your questions and inquiries to starting this unique journey. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we want to show you that we are the alternative to the alternative and the out-of-the-box solution to customize an answer for you to spend less and gain more in your high vibrancy journey. Visit www.chriskehler.net. Real healing and real caring to your health needs.
Mr. Chris Kehler.
I am your host, Chris Kehler. Hey, happy belated 4th of July, America.
That's what you say. What happened in Canada?
We had on July 1st is our birthday, and it was Canada's 150th birthday.
Oh, that was wow. Good. Congratulations.
Over 100.
Yeah, congratulations.
Unbelievable. Good. It was a big party, and we all had a lot of fun.
Oh, everybody around here that was blowing everything up. So, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, down in South in America, you can walk anywhere to any corner, any place, and you can buy fireworks. And I mean bombs. These things are huge.
Oh, in Manitoba, we got restrictions. We got lots of people that sell them outside of the city because you can't buy them inside the city.
Yeah, it's like north.
Huge restrictions. We don't want to be lighting everybody on fire now, do we?
Nah.
Yeah, that's the way it is. I mean, that's all good. They look nice in the air, but we don't need them going off in somebody's garage.
Yeah, it's true. Well, some guy blew up his garage yesterday, too, by trying to get rid of a wasp nest in his garage. I'm serious.
It's an easy way to do it. You call the exterminator, he'll take care of that.
Yeah, he thought he'd blow it up.
Nope. My goodness. Well, you know what? We need people like that to make us look intelligent.
Or laugh, one of the two.
Yeah, exactly. Now, some updates. The last couple of weeks have been fast and furious. It's been all kinds of shake-up happening in the whole energy world. What's happening now is that we're now able to get rid of all the jinn. And jinn, not G-I-N, but D-J-I-N-N, meaning genie. Jinn in Arabic means genie. So the jinn are the consciousness that causes all kinds of trouble within ourselves. So when some poor folk out there, when somebody out there tries to create a witchcraft spell on somebody, it's the jinn that take that command and carry it out within your body. The jinn, it was just like somebody hitting a wasp nest. Okay, all of a sudden, somebody hits a wasp nest with a baseball bat, and now there are jinn everywhere.
Oops.
So they've been identified and validated and we can now get rid of them. It's been a very big learning curve in that respect, because, again, a lot of the things we think that we've known have really been some kind of lie, something made up to cover up for these gens. We're able to go in after them and get them out, and basically it's getting rid of all their manifestations. So, of course, in order for them to affect you, they're going to manifest something. So there's an area, a field of energy called a plasma field. And in the plasma field, something can be created from nothing. Okay, so this is where the jinn do their dirty work. So if you just go in there and undo all of their manifestations in the plasma field, all of a sudden it does open the door wider, and we're able to find more and more problems. Reptilians, a lot of them are gone. You still find the odd one here and there within people. They are, for the most part, gone. Out of the elite, they're still hanging around, but out of you and I, causing a health problem, we're able to get deeper out of there. Another big finding, and this is a physical thing, is a toxin. Any kind of food has some kind of chemical color within it. And there's blue 1, blue 2, red 40, green 3, and then there's yellow 5 and yellow 6 that are toxins. And yellow 6 is a chemical color that will promote yeast growth within your body. So anytime that I find somebody with yeast, and everybody's got yeast, thank you for that. Everybody's got yeast. Once you remove the yeast, if you remove the yellow dye number 6, the promotion of yeast will certainly rotation, and the pH value in your body, that is all relevant too. But I find if you get rid of those two things, the yeast really stays away. Well, on tonight's show, we've got a guest. We're going to be talking with David Stephan about achieving optimal brain and thyroid health. Over the past 14 years, David has worked extensively with Truehope, a research-based organization dedicated to provide meaningful life transformation to those affected by mood and hormone imbalances. During this time, he has been involved with leading-edge discoveries that are astounding researchers and empowering humanity to live happier, more meaningful lives. As such, David feels it is a privilege and a duty to share the knowledge that not only changed his life, but has allowed for over 100,000 others to transform their lives as well. The website is www.truehope.com. Please welcome to A Quantum View, David Stephan.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on here, Chris.
Not a problem, David. How are you today?
You know, I'm very well. Yeah, I'm just in the midst of packing for a family vacation. Me and my wife and children are gonna head out to British Columbia, where we also don't have access to firecrackers like they would in the U.S.
Now, anytime somebody asks, how are you doing? Of course, in the industry that you and I are in, you never want to hear anybody say, oh, I'm feeling crappy, right?
That's right. And unfortunately, that's all too often the reality, though, where people don't answer that way. But, you know, when you watch people, you're taking a look around, you see that a lot of people just are not living anywhere near their potential. And it's unfortunate.
There's certain areas of the body that seem to take all the blame. And, you know, anytime you talk to someone, oh, I've got hypothyroid this, hypothyroid that. Why is the thyroid such an important factor in the blaming of health problems?
Well, because it's really necessary for the thyroid to be functioning, for you to be vibrant and energetic. As soon as the thyroid begins to go into a state of dysfunction, you're no longer producing the T3, T4 hormones, which are not just necessary for the regulation of the thyroid, but also the metabolic rate of every single cell in the body. And so when you start eliminating those hormones, or you come into a lack of those hormones, you feel like garbage. Your energy just drops through the floor, and it generally manifests itself in something that we'd call depression. And so that's where the thyroid really plays a strong role in people's vitality for life.
So how is somebody going to know if their thyroid is pooped?
Well, you know, that's a good question. Many times you can go and get it tested. You can go to an endocrinologist. Unfortunately, many of the tests are quite lacking. One of the main things that we do to see whether or not you have the adequate levels of one of the key nutrients for the thyroid is we'll do a test with with iodine, the spot test on the skin, and generally, if it absorbs in less than 8 hours, you're in a state of deficiency. If it absorbs in a few hours, then you're clearly deficient. And as such, it's impossible to produce T3, T4 hormones if you are not getting adequate levels of iodine, because the 3 and the 4 both stand for the amount of atoms of iodine within that hormone.
One person may think it's the thyroid, but it could be the adrenals. One person could think it's the adrenals, and it's the entire endocrine system. It could be this and that. What is it that you can do in order for somebody to discern that their thyroid is, in fact, the culprit?
Yes. So actually, we generally don't actually get so myopic as to focus on one specific problem or what we think is a specific problem. Where we come from in Truehope is we come from a shotgun approach of applying a well-balanced, extremely bioavailable form of nutrition in a wide array. So not just iodine. That's only one of many key nutrients that are absolutely essential to your body thriving. And so what we do is we apply a proper balance, a very whole source of nutrition to people, and allow their body to do what it does best, and that's figure out the problem and correct it. And so iodine is one of the key nutrients that we use within this 36 ingredient product. But when we take a look at mood imbalances, thyroid dysfunction, really we're talking about a very wide scale of potential issues. So example, if I don't have adequate levels of selenium, magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin D, I can supplement with iodine, but I'm never going to get the full potential of that iodine in its function with the thyroid because the iodine pathway isn't actually optimized. You require a wide balance of nutrition to get everything to start flowing. And that's not just in regard to brain health or thyroid health. It's in regard to adrenal health. It's in every area of the body. Your body requires optimal nutrition in the proper balance and a wide array of it. And so, when I look at articles on the internet, unfortunately, humanity has a tendency to try to get myopic and look for a magic bullet, one single ingredient that's going to fix all their problems. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works. Our body is far more complicated than that. And so we require a lot of nutrients to work synergistically to get the body to come into balance.
The first thing I tell people, myself, is that if you are experiencing any kind of health problem, number one, change your diet. Get some nutrition within your body. That's a broad statement, and that can mean a whole lot of things. So what you guys have done is taken this common problem and created a supplement that is going to address all the issues that could pertain around the thyroid.
Well, not in specific to the thyroid. The thyroid is actually kind of ancillary to what we're doing, and we've discovered that regardless of what you do to get the brain working well, to get the neurotransmitters produced, and then to get them doing their job appropriately and interacting with the cells, is that if you don't correct a thyroid condition that somebody has, and that's where the additional iodine comes in a specific form that's kind of a buzzword lately, the nascent iodine. That's what we use. If you don't address that, you'll never see the full potential of somebody being able to live vibrantly. And that's really what our goal is to get people to see the results, not to merely just take a product. And so we come at it from that angle, where we have people coming to us with bipolar disorder, depression, major anxiety, ADHD, that type of thing. And they're coming to us for that issue. And generally, just by applying a proper balance of nutrition to them that's in a specific product, they're able to see substantial benefits and change their lives. So, children that are, deemed to be, bad students and not able to focus, they're getting in trouble at school, are, over time, within a few months, they're all of a sudden performing, many times becoming A students. And so that's a wonderful thing. But what we're finding over and over and over is that there seems to be a great amount of the population that are not seeing the full effect that they could because of those underlying thyroid conditions. And so that's when we begin to target the thyroid for that, mainly with the iodine.
So, of course, low thyroid, low body function, low metabolism. Even if you're eating decently, if the thyroid isn't quite up to speed, whatever good food you're eating still isn't going to be able to absorb and do what it's supposed to do.
That's correct. And, when we talk about diet, I'm a huge advocate of people changing their diets, reducing the amount of grains, limiting the amount of meats that they eat. I myself am a vegetarian, but I'm not a religious advocate of that. But just starting to eat more balanced, eat a lot more vegetation and some fruits, nutrient dense food. But the problem that we're seeing is that the food today is extremely lacking, not only in iodine, but in most of the key minerals that we need on a daily basis. And this is largely in part because of the model that farming has taken over the past century and a half, 2 centuries, where it's quantity over quality, and they've stripped the land of your nutrition. They supplement with potassium, nitrogen, and phosphorus, which is only three elements, whereas they're pulling far more than that. Anybody who buys sea salt will see that many times it's saying 50, 60, 70 plus trace minerals. Well, that's what these plants are pulling out of the soil, and yet they're not going back into the soil. And as a result, we have less than 50% of the mineral content that was once found in the soils 100 years ago. And then to boot, with the modernization of agriculture, where we began to spray the fields with pesticides and herbicides and synthetic fertilizers, what it's done is it's offset the balance of life in the soil. In fact, many times it's killed it off completely, and you don't have the breakdown of the minerals and the conversion to an organic form that the plants can actually uptake. So even though we've got about 50% of the mineral content there, the plants are not accessing it. And so what we're seeing is from about 1947 to 1997 is about an 80% reduction in many of the key nutrients that you would have found in the food prior to that. And so even though we eat healthy, we make the good choices, and we should, the problem is we're still not getting adequate levels of nutrients like our great-grandparents were. And that's why we see a major rise in all forms of disease.
Now, one thing that I kind of see as a common denominator is that a couple of 100 years ago, we didn't have all of these chemicals within our reach, such as fluoride, such as glyphosate, all of these different chemicals that are being used, as you said, fertilizers, and where they used to just spread cow poop manure over the fields. Now everything is a chemical. What are the biggest chemical toxins that you're finding within people with thyroid problems?
Well, many times the medications that people will take for various mental health conditions will actually create thyroid condition. So, example, lithium. Even though it's a mineral, and it's one of the most effective medications that they use in various mental health conditions, the problem is they're using it at toxic levels, and it can create thyroid conditions. And that's what we're seeing with many of these medications. But when we go into toxins that are being sprayed on our food, probably the most dangerous one is the glyphosate. That's creating major issues. I had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Stephan, a researcher out of MIT, and she had some interesting things to say about what her findings were with glyphosate, where it was creating an issue in the manganese pathway, where you could no longer uptake manganese and put it to use in your body, so you became deficient in it. But the problem is that now if you tried to supplement with it, your body couldn't tolerate it, and so now it was considered a toxin to you. And so that's one of the things that she found with the glyphosate. Perhaps as time goes on, what we're going to find is that when people are being subjected to this glyphosate that's being used as a desiccant on many of the grain crops, so we're not just talking genetically modified organisms that are being subjected to the glyphosate, but many of your regular everyday foods that aren't genetically modified are actually being sprayed with glyphosate. And so what it's doing is it's creating major disruption in our bodies. And what we'll probably find over time is that it's not just disrupting the manganese pathway, but it's disrupting everything within the body, every pathway. And you talked about yeast a little bit earlier on. Many times if you if you use an antibiotic treatment, you create a void within the guts. And what fills that void, just like if you were to just pull up every plant in a garden and leave it, are the weeds, the opportunistic pathogens. And so the yeast is opportunistic. And so when you create a void with antibiotics, you have this overgrowth of yeast. Well, glyphosate, its first patent was actually as an antibiotic. So people on a daily basis, if they're not eating extremely clean, extremely organic, they are literally applying small doses of antibiotics on a regular basis, and it's creating a disruption within their gut flora.
I read something that California was going to deem glyphosate a carcinogen.
And they sure should. They should deem it a lot more than just that, though.
We can go on forever about that silly little company called Monsanto. And, anybody from Monsanto wants to come and shake their finger at me, I'll surely shake their hand and ask them some questions and see what's rolling around in their funny little heads. The whole concept of the toxicity that's coming into our body. And, you really got to take a look at the levels of humanity, where if you want to eat completely organic and eat good food, it's going to cost you money. I think there was a documentary called Food Inc., where they followed a family around a little bit, family with very little money, and what they had to eat was nothing but garbage, just boxed food on the shelf, the mac and cheese, the hamburger helpers, everything with all kinds of chemical colorants, all chemical additives to make it taste kind of good. That's all they could eat. Where does somebody draw the line is really going to be healthy for them? It's going to support the thyroid, ultimately help people who are a little less fortunate.
Yeah, when it comes to trying to correct the thyroid there specifically, the problem is even if you're eating clean, you're eating healthy, the majority of food is extremely deficient in iodine. Unless you're getting sea vegetables, and then if you're eating clean, many people are concerned about the toxicity within the oceans. And so, probably the most reasonable thing that you can do to get adequate levels of iodine, and possibly one of the only ways that you can do it is through supplementation. And iodine, typically, bang for your buck is pretty inexpensive, especially for the results that you get from it. So, if I was to encourage people to, came to me with a thyroid condition, the most simple, easiest way that I would suggest that they correct it is through going and getting some iodine supplementation. And then if budget wasn't such an issue, going and getting some other great nutrients, the companion nutrients as we call them, to assist with that iodine actually functioning fully with the thyroid.
So ultimately, if somebody could at least do an iodine supplement, that would get you back in the game.
It would sure assist tremendously. Dr. David Brownstein, has written numerous books on the matter, and has found incredible findings with his own clinic in supplementing with just iodine, and just life-changing results. And so it's perhaps the most simple, easiest way. It's not necessarily a magic bullet. Like I said, if you want to take a holistic approach and really begin to see the full potential of where you can sit for your health, your well-being, your outlook on life, definitely other nutrients would come into play as well that you're not getting adequate levels of even through clean eating. But if there's only one thing that they could do, iodine would be definitely
it.
Yeah.
A while back, we had Dr. Eliezer Ben Joseph on, and he spoke about the same thing, iodine and also mass amounts of vitamin D, and then you should really never get sick if you can keep those two components up in your body. And vitamin D is available anywhere in tablet form. And the important thing with vitamin D is to make sure you're taking enough, because the way he explained it is they changed the measurement of vitamin D within the supplement itself to make it sound like you need, let's say, 20,000 international units. It sounds like a whole lot. Well, if you convert it back down to what everything else is measured in, it's really not a lot at all. So, of course, people out there, the medical community doesn't want you to get well. They just want you to be well enough so you can at least make it into their offices and get some medication.
Unfortunately, that is the sad truth of the matter, and we've had our own issues with regulatory bodies and whatnot when our specific supplement for mental well-being for the mood disorders was discovered to be over 3 times more effective than your standard antidepressants. The government took no time in coming in and trying to shut us down, and it eventually ended up, raid with the SWAT team, coming through our front doors of our head office, that type of thing. And so, yeah, you want to know that there's various industry interests here that want to prevent these nutrients from having an effect in people or people having access to them and knowing how to use them.
In Manitoba here, there's one person who creates his own line of supplements. Terry Bell in Selkirk, Manitoba. He does a type of muscle testing called Shote, a system he developed so that you can see what nutrients would help what areas of the body. And he got raided, he got shut down, lots of court battles about what's in his product, and now he's getting DIN numbers for them and getting all that involved. But these government bodies would look at you with a straight face and say you're breaking the law, when in fact all you're trying to do is help humanity. I mean, how can you do something wrong and break the law when you're trying to help somebody's health? I mean, I really don't quite understand it. Now, that's one of the reasons I got started in this industry working with supplements. And, I did kind of see that curve coming, but I was guided to start working within the energy components of the body, and nobody's going to come and bust my door down for saying a prayer over somebody. So I think I got that covered.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting industry, especially when you begin to actually have an effect. You see different regulatory bodies or people rise up against you. There's kind of a joke in our inner circle with the organization is exactly what products you should be looking at taking just based on who Health Canada is attacking, just because they're not trying to limit the products that are creating harm or death. In fact, you've got these energy drinks that are being labeled as natural products under the NPN regulations that all the other vitamins and minerals and stuff like that fall under, and you've got people actually dying from them. Drinking too many. There was a recent case again where a teenager went and drank one too many of these energy drinks, and his heart gave out. And so you've got things like that taking place, but yet Health Canada isn't going after them or making them apply proper warnings, and yet here they're attacking therapeutic products that are literally changing or saving people's lives.
That's because it's taken power away from the medical system and all that. I mean, the whole medical system, we can bash it all day long. What it all revolves down to is a monopoly of health problems that are created by the medical system so that they can keep this revolving door going. At least in Canada, we can take control of our own health and do a bit more than other countries can. In Germany, to try and get a supplement is really hard. I can't ship anything to Germany unless it's an energy tool. Any kind of supplement, they will turn it back. Canada, at least we're lucky that we have the opportunity at least to venture off a little bit off the beaten track of the medical system. And
yeah, Health Canada has proposed new regulations, though, that are on the horizon, where they're looking at changing that. And they've been trying to do that since the mid-'90s.
Yeah.
When it was under Minister Alan Rock, there was a huge outcry, fortunately, by the public. And then they attempted to do it again. I don't know if you recall Bill C-51. You'd probably remember a stop sign that said Stop C-51. Well, we with Truehope, we're not only advocates for mental health, we're advocates for health freedom, especially after the government attacked us and did everything in their power to prevent us from making this available to the Canadian public. And so we began to use whatever resources we had to assist in the health freedom fight. And in 2007, 2008, we discovered what was taking place with Bill C-51. And so we came up with a strategy to try to bring this forward to the public, and it worked. People across every major city in Canada had protests about this bill that was literally going to make any product, any food product even that could be deemed therapeutic, a controlled substance that they would require a license for. Now imagine this. You like to garden, you like to grow some garlic, or maybe you got some blueberry bushes, which are therapeutic. You've got something like that. Could you imagine if all of a sudden that became a controlled substance where you required a license to grow certain products like that? We're now talking about, the marijuana battle here. We're talking about throwing all sorts of other plant products into that mix. And so when we saw what was going on, what was written into this omnibus bill, we did our best to make sure that the public was aware of it. And so fortunately, because had that gone through, Canada would be a much different landscape right now than what we're seeing. But fortunately, the public were willing to take a stand for their rights. They were willing to do what it took, and the government went away for a time. But here we are again, Health Canada, just coming from a different angle, hoping to achieve the same means and prevent you from having access to therapeutic natural products.
A product you have called Empower went through all that trial and tribulation, didn't it?
It sure did.
I've heard a lot of people come to me and ask me, have I heard about Empower? I've done some research, and Empower, when I do my dowsing testing on it, turns out to be a very high vibrational product.
Yes, there's definitely an energetic component to it. There's no doubt about it. As you'd probably find with any product that would be able to incite tremendous change in people's well-being. It's an interesting product. It really just looks like a multivitamin, but it's doing what multivitamins aren't doing. And the reason being is what we do to the product is absolutely crucial to get the body to actually be able to utilize it. And what it is we take a good source of vitamins and minerals that would otherwise really be useless, but it's a good source. And we put it through a proprietary 4-day process where we mimic what would be taking place in healthy soil that hasn't been subjected to glyphosate or other pesticides and herbicides. And so we mimic what nature would be doing under an ideal situation where we break down the minerals, we micronize them, and they sit there and they basically culture for 4 days. And it introduces life to the product, just like what you'd be getting out of food, but in adequate levels. And as a result, you've got this well-balanced, bioavailable form of vitamins and minerals that the body can actually put to use. And as a result, it's just shaking up the whole medical community in regard to vitamin and mineral supplementation being the greatest game changer for mental illness.
Mental illness can be looked at in a whole lot of different ways. When I'm working with energy and all of the universal stuff that goes on, everybody hears me yap about, that is a component. I get great results with mental illnesses, moving energy. How would the right supplement help somebody with a mental illness? Now, mental illness is a very broad topic. If you talk about schizophrenia, if you talk about depression, all these different things, do they all kind of ball up, in your opinion, into the same thing?
Absolutely. Really, if you're talking about it energetically, I think you'd probably agree with this, and you'd probably be able to give me further insight as you're more an expert in the energy field. But we're talking low energy. We're talking the ability to be easily influenced. When somebody has low energy, just imagine, you don't eat for a few days, or you sleep deprive yourself for a few days. When, that situation that you'd find yourself in could be diagnosed as a mental illness if those weren't taken into factor, that, you haven't been sleeping for 4 days, or, you haven't really eaten for 4 days. Why? Because you are in a state of low energy. You're going to be extremely irritable. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be hopeless. You're just going to be really pessimistic. And that's really what we find with mental illness. So we're talking really energy. And so when you take a look at the body and you take a look at, we're looking at neurotransmitter function. We're looking at the production of neurotransmitters and hormones, which are going to assist us in, having our body regulate energy, regulate mood, become more vibrant. That's great and all. But really all it's doing is it's providing an environment where we get to make that choice to rise up, to elevate ourselves, to be able to hold a charge, if you will. We've, in our few decades of working extensively with different healers. We've come across some people that have been using different things like light therapy, and what they're finding, or what they found, and they found really quite a good marriage between the supplementation and light therapy or any other kind of energy therapy, was that with many of their clientele, they would get them to do this type of energetic therapy, and they would see immediate results, but the problem is they weren't seeing lasting results. And so the way that I put it is, it's kind of like a battery. If you don't have, the levels of fluid topped off in the battery, if you don't have the proper electrolyte solution there, you're not going to be able to hold a charge. You can apply a charge all you want, and that battery will operate momentarily. But if you don't fix what's going on inside that battery, it'll never be able to hold a long-term charge. Well, our bodies are in a similar type situation, where if they don't have the adequate levels of nutrition to get everything functioning properly, to get all the signaling going, you can apply these energetic therapies and see a substantial difference in the immediate. But the problem is, many times, and this isn't the case for everybody, but in many times, it's not a lasting result. It has to be followed up and followed up and followed up again to continually get that person back up to where they had been, rather than allowing them to take on that charge, to be able to change that energy and to hold it.
One thing that I've run into quite often, somebody who eats absolutely perfect, gets all the nutrition, drinks their water, does everything they need to do to get the right nutrition in their body, they're still sick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
go.
All right. So we see this, or we hear this very often. When people take a look at the product and say, but wait, this is just a multivitamin. I eat healthy, or I'm already taking multivitamins. I've been doing this for years. And so this couldn't possibly help because I've already been doing this. So this goes back once again to the farming, right? So we're eating healthy. Dr. Anne-Marie Meyer out of the UK, with her and her team, analyzed 20 common fruits and vegetables back in 1997 and showed that many of them were lacking in over 80% of the key minerals. The USDA did a follow-up study at one point and found that, in fact, if you make the healthy choice, you choose a good salad, the common vegetables in that salad, when analyzed, showed that there was or that you'd have to eat 6.5 times the amount that basically your grandparents or great-grandparents would have had to have eaten to get the same nutrient value. So even though people are making all these right choices, the problem is that they are still lacking in those key minerals, which are absolutely essential for every function in the body, every single function. When we go down right to the cellular level, you're talking enzyme reactions, methylation processes, the process of turning amino acids into neurotransmitters. If you don't have those minerals, those processes will not be taking place, and that's why many people, that are familiar with depression, are familiar with the fact that they likely aren't producing adequate levels of serotonin. And the reason why is because that tryptophan pathway just isn't functioning because they don't have the adequate levels of nutrients. So now let's say that we take somebody who's eating extremely healthy, as healthy as they can, making all the right choices, even organic, and they're supplementing with a multivitamin, and yet they're still sick. And we get this often. And they're saying, no, the EMP, I've heard a lot about this, but surely that couldn't do it for me. Well, once again, now it comes down to bioavailability. Mineral supplementation has largely been overlooked in the industry for its potential. And the reason being is because we've never, humankind or manufacturing has really overlooked the way that we need to process those minerals to allow for them to actually reach their potential in our bodies. If I go and grind up a rock, it's all mineral. And I can analyze that and say, wow, okay, I'm getting, this much calcium and this much iron and whatnot. And if I consume that, I'm not actually getting that calcium or that iron or the potassium or whatever it may be that's in there. I'm not getting that. I may get very small amounts in a form that isn't really usable. And in fact, it's really going to be hard on my intestines. And so you have to put it in the same form that food would. And so these minerals naturally get broken down in the soil. And so let's say that we take a healthy sample of soil, that hasn't been sprayed by glyphosate, where it's killed off the bacteria cultures that are in there, offset the balance, where you end up with the diet for worms. You end up with the worms, certain breeds of the worms, grinding up the minerals. You're probably familiar with worm castings.
Yes.
Okay, so the worms will go in, and you can actually, you'll apply the worms in this area of soil, and you can actually see where they're moving, where they've been, and where they're going to, because it's a night and day difference between the soil. And you can actually take that soil that they've been in and use that as fertilizer, because they've just broken it down and allowed for it to become extremely bioactive for plants. And so you end up with the diet for those worms. You don't end up with that process. So if you don't have the minerals being broken down like that, and then the proper, humus and stuff like that in the soil to convert those minerals into an organic form. So it's not just coming in as an element, but rather it's attached to an organic molecule, which allows for the plant to uptake it. That's the type of nutrition that our bodies need. It's a type of nutrition that we find out of plants, unfortunately, just not in adequate levels. And so we've overlooked the potential that mineral supplementation can have in the human body, because we've never applied it in the proper form to actually see it perform its role.
Your body has to be able to absorb whatever it is you're eating. You could be eating $1 billion and only get $1 out of it if your body isn't going to absorb it.
That's right.
Now, would that be a case where, of course, certain areas of your body, the jejunum, the ileum, and the small intestine may be coated in a mucus that can't absorb things? I mean, is there any kind of a detox or some kind of something that you would recommend that people could clean their bodies out so that they can absorb nutrient?
Absolutely. One of the greatest limiting factors that we have in people not seeing the full potential is not just the thyroid, but it's also the intestinal health. And so, you talked about yeast or candida prior. We've had to come up with a candida protocol for people so that they could actually begin to absorb these nutrients in a profound way. And so when we talk about mucus and whatnot, one of my favorite cleanses is the master cleanse. The lemonade diet, right? So the cayenne, the maple syrup, and the lemon. And you do that for 10 days. And it's amazing how it just really, it removes a lot of that coating in the gut. And you just feel like $1 million after doing it, or while you're doing it, actually, once you get past that day 4. And so the reason for that is all of a sudden, now you're able to begin to absorb. Now, people who have been eating clean for a very long time won't see as great of benefits from a cleanse like that as somebody who's eating the typical American diet. But it's still, I did it again, a few months ago, and I've been eating clean for over 10 years. And, it still feels great to do it. You still get the benefits from it. But people that have never done anything like that for their intestines and have been eating like they thought they should, following the Canada Food Guide, they're going to see a tremendous benefit, and they're going to have some serious stuff coming out of them.
And that's going to look like a spare tire that's been sitting in your intestine for 15 years.
Oh yeah, huge weight loss. Huge weight loss. It's amazing how much weight people are carrying within their actual intestines, not just as fat storage.
Well, when you do the master cleanse, do you eat during it, or do you just do the master cleanse itself?
No, I just do the master cleanse, and in fact, I've kind of modified it myself, where I'll also do a candida cleanse at the same time, because it doesn't compromise the master cleanse at all. All I'm doing is adding things like podarco, olive leaf extract, diatomaceous earth, that type of stuff to the master cleanse. So if anything, it actually complements the master cleanse.
So get the gunk out. Your body's going to run like a 20-year-old again.
Absolutely.
What does that do for your mind? I mean, that must clear things up beautiful for your mind.
Oh, absolutely. It's like all of a sudden the light switch is turned on. That's my motto, is to be able to live that day to day, is to be able to live life to its fullest. And that includes the mind. In fact, without the mind, it doesn't matter how well I'm functioning physically. Unfortunately, the majority of people are actually walking around in a fog and they don't even recognize it.
Oh, yeah. Every second or third client that I see, their complaint is, I can't focus. I've got foggy brain. I says, let's get rid of the yeast. Let's get rid of the sugar out of your brain. let's clean things up a little bit that way. And then the next day, yeah, it is. The light switch gets flicked on all of a sudden. There's some concentration there. I can focus on one thing and not be all of a sudden all over the place doing half of one thing and then starting on something else. Ultimately, what that does is it slows your anxiety levels down because you're not trying to accomplish 15 things at once because you're focusing on one thing, and now your body can relax because, hey, it can relax.
Yes, and that's extremely important, especially for longevity of life. Unfortunately, we've all ran across those people that are, running around like a chicken with their head cut off, where they just don't know what they're doing because they're trying to do everything. And, it has a tremendous impact on their health. It really does. And so, to be able to focus, to be able to just be calm and just be able to enjoy the moment is really a rarity these days. And it's unfortunate. But it can be easily achieved by, cleaning up your diet, getting rid of the gunk that's in the intestines, doing some cleanses there so you can actually digest your food appropriately, so that you're actually not having what you'd call what's the word? Slips my mind right now. Putrefaction. And that's actually where you're not digesting your food. You're acting like a compost bin in there where it's just sitting there and fermenting, rotting, and it's releasing toxins into your body that would create the brain fog. And so, clean that up, get some great nutrition into you, get the iodine as well as, the other key nutrients into you, and your body and brain just turn on. Suddenly you're feeling that vitality for life. You want to go work out. You want to go for the run. You want to, you have this insight to be able to achieve what you were looking at achieving before. The ideas just flow. It's a beautiful thing.
The big thing is for a lot of people is motivation. And when we do what we gotta do, but then when we get home, it's hello couch, hello remote control, what's on tonight? And you got this pile of things sitting behind you. And we all at 3:00 hit the candy bar machine to get something to perk you up a little bit by purifying your body. Your body's a temple. Come on. I just had an uncle a couple days ago who passed away of a heart attack. Smoking. Okay. And, just not paying attention to your body. Okay. And you know what? I'm going to say I'm very much a culprit of that too. I get in this busy lifestyle where I'm just sitting here 8 hours a day. And when it comes to lunchtime, it's like, what can I stuff in my face just to keep my tummy from grumbling? And you don't go to those levels. And, to eat healthy does take some work. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but 70, 80 years ago, that's how we had to get our food, is we had to work for it. We couldn't just go to a machine and buy it. We couldn't just run out and get a quick, healthy something to eat. It took work. So if you can maybe put your mind into that whole faction that, hey, nothing good comes easy. You need to go out and actually pick something or go, let's say 20 miles further to an organic place and get good organic food. That's what it's going to take to get your body healthy. And then, when I'm 70 years old, I'm not going to be tied to a wheelchair, hoping somebody comes by soon and takes me to the bathroom because I can't go myself.
Yes, absolutely. And that's looking at the long-term benefit. But what many people miss is that there's an immediate benefit as well. If they're able to hold to it, and many times it's just a short period of time, as you're well aware, within a few weeks, all of a sudden their life is so much better. I know people that'll go and, they'll spend $100 to go to Disneyland for the day to get that fixed so that they can, feel joy or whatever they think they're feeling. But the fact of the matter is that we can have a much greater feeling on a daily basis just because we're in love with life. We're on fire, we're vibrant, and we're able to, regardless of the crap that surrounds us, regardless of the circumstance that we're in, we're not becoming a product of our circumstances. We're able to create just a beautiful presence because our bodies, we've treated them like a temple, like you say. They're clean, they're pure, and we are able to control the body rather than being in control by the body.
I know one of the things that I've done now and then is a bit of a juice fast. We got a good juice extractor, and we've actually turned our kids on to juicing, where take a Granny Smith apple and then a lemon and make lemonade without sugar. And they're like, "Oh, Daddy, can I have some of that homemade lemonade?" I says, "Oh, hold on, son, I'll go to the tree and pick some lemons." But no, they've really got into it, and we've found some fruits and vegetables that we can juice, and they're not too strong tasting for them, that they could actually stomach them, because kids, their taste buds are so sensitive. So cucumbers work really well. Lots of silica in cucumbers.
Ooh, good detox.
Apples, carrots, lots of natural sweetness. Of course, somebody's going to say, "Oh, that's too much sugar." Come on, it's natural sugar. It's from a vegetable. It's not refined processed sugar. Okay, same as maple syrup. I mean, that's not sugar. That's tree sap, and it has a sweetness to it. That's what I put in my coffee every day. I use some cream, some 18% cream, which has got more nutrients in it. Yes, it's from a cow. Be quiet. Let me have my cream. Right? And I use maple syrup for the sweetness, so that works really well. But within my practice, I do live blood analysis. And the first time that my wife and I did a juice fast is I did a sample of my blood before, and then halfway through the juice fast, I did a sample, and the blood cells looked amazing. They looked like healthy, brand new blood cells. They weren't stuck together. They were fat. They were chubby. They had smiley faces on them. And both my wife and I said, "You know what, Chris? I feel fantastic." And yeah, it really does make that difference when you can bioavailable the nutrients that you're taking, making sure you're getting it all, and not just getting 50% of whatever it is you're taking. So juicing works well, but also a very reputable company that comes forward and does the research to make the nutrient properly, make it bioavailable, and making sure that nutrient is designed in a way that humanity needs it now.
Yep.
That's the biggie.
It is. Yeah.
What do we need now?
Well, what do we need now?
What do we need now, David?
Well, long-term solution is we correct the egg.
Hello?
Short-term is, I'm here. Short-term solution that I currently apply for my own life and for advocate for many others is, get it in the pill form. Getting those nutrients in the pill form. But I'm not satisfied with that myself. I think it's beautiful, the life change that it creates. And, my job many times has me traveling across Canada, presenting at different health shows and stuff like that. And I love the feedback that I get every time that I go out there. Somebody or a few people in the audience are people that have had their lives changed, and they come and report back and say, this has changed my life or my daughter's life. And, in some cases they say, it saved our life or saved our marriage. And that's extremely rewarding. But I'm not satisfied with people having to take pills for the rest of their life. And so I personally am engaged in a bit of a project where we're putting up greenhouses, and we want to change what's taking place within the soil to bring it back, if you will, to the way that nature would have had it. And then add all that nutrition so that I can eat that food and get as much as or more of those nutrients than I would out of a pill, so that I can just eat that food and feel fantastic. That's the way that we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be getting all of our nutrient value out of our food. And so long term, we need to correct what's taking place within agriculture. Short term, for those that have various mood ailments or thyroid conditions, correct it now. Correct it now by going and getting the proper nutrients to feed the body and the brain and the thyroid, and so that you can thrive until humanity as a whole corrects these major issues that we've created within the land.
And you can see it here and there that a lot of small community gardens are popping up where you can participate and plant your own little this, little that. And it's actually therapeutic to get down on your knees and dig in the dirt. My son loves digging in the dirt. He says, "Dad, this is fantastic." So that That gets your body moving. You can go out and plant stuff and do your own thing. If it means going walking to a farmer's market, Canada, especially Winnipeg, we can only have fresh vegetables one day a year where we can actually have weather warm enough to grow them. A little bit of research, a little bit of education, and a little bit of motivation to say, hey, my body's worth it. I need to make this change so that I can feel better about myself and be there for my family. David, how can people research you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can look up Truehope.com, and there they'll find the 34 medical journal publications that have taken place on EMP specifically, which is the multivitamin mineral supplement for various ailments like anxiety, depression, even autism. Addictions. Turns out people don't want to self-medicate when you're feeling great. So, studies on that, stress, post-traumatic stress. So they can find that information on Truehope.com. And, many of the natural health retailers, natural health stores, and even some pharmacies, naturopathic doctors across Canada carry our line of products. And the two main ones being the Truehope EMP and the Truehope Nascent Iodine, which is an iodine that's in a pre-converted form. So even if your thyroid isn't functioning properly, it's already in the form that your thyroid needs to produce the T3, T4 hormones, as well as flush out the fluoride and bromide and chloride in the body and get things running optimally again.
Awesome. Our guest tonight on A Quantum View has been David Stephan. David, thank you so much for being on. You are a plethora of knowledge.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, Chris. I sure appreciate it. And I love what you're doing. Thank you.
For A Quantum View, this is Chris Kehler. We are out of here.